Well, a new documentary shedding light on the volunteer search for survivors at Ground Zero. 5 days on the pile chronicles the search efforts of two local steamfitters and how they rushed into the chaos to help after the towers collapsed. Take a look.
It already discussed we were going to go in the next day, no matter what. We were going.
You'll only have 72 hours to survive without water.
We knew we could help them. Cutting steel, whatever they needed. We just went in, dug in, and started working.
Joining me now to talk about this inspiring story is the film's creator and director, Paul Wagner. Paul, thanks for being with us. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Hey,
I appreciate being able to promote the film.
Yeah, so many stories, obviously, from 9/11. It's been 24 years since that tragic day. Let me ask you, what made you want to do this film now about these volunteers?
Well, number one of the subjects of the film, Chris Wagner, who happens to be my brother, didn't want to talk about it. He was really struggling with it for many, many years. And then a few years ago, we started talking about it, and he realized that he did want to get the story out because it's a story that's vastly undertold about the volunteers and how people just showed up down there at Ground Zero. And then for years struggled with what they saw, what they breathed, and what they did. So that's part of it. The other part of it is I did some research, and these stories about the volunteers, there are not many out there. There's a couple of documentaries that I did find. And then the third part is that I realized that it was a lot easier in these digital ages that we live in now to actually put the story together and find the material that I needed to get it done. And so that's the main reason for doing it.
It's true, though. Most of the stories we hear and report on right now are the volunteers who've become sick, and that's another tragedy in itself. These men worked for 5 days straight searching for survivors. What were some of the stories that they shared with you, about that heart-wrenching experience in those initial 72 to 98 hours?
I think that some aspects of this story that people miss is that it was a grim task in those first few days. They were finding a lot of bodies. They were finding body parts. And these volunteers who were not trained for doing this kind of stuff, like the police and the fire department are, were helping these firefighters and first responders recover bodies. Chris actually was very much affected when he found a man buried in the rubble and he saw a wedding ring. Ralph was very much affected when he was finding photographs and personal effects. And so it did affect these men. It did affect them mentally and physically.
Did they ever mention just how daunting a sight it was to get there and to, as a human being, to see these two massive buildings that have basically imploded on one another? Where to start? What could they possibly do to make an impact immediately?
Well, the film shows these photographs that Ralph took. Ralph had a camera that day. He took a number of photographs. And so these are photographs no one's ever seen before that are in the film. And you'll just see how incredibly difficult it was to get around on the pile and how dangerous it was. And the smoke and the air that they were breathing. Ralph in the film even says at one point, he got onto the pile and he looked at the Deutsche Bank, I think he said, and he saw this huge hole in the side of it. He says it was like King Kong had punched a hole in the side of the building. It was just daunting to get onto that pile and see what they saw.
I know I mentioned to you about the health of a lot of the volunteers, especially the firefighters, NYPD, Port Authority police that we talk about and document for years now. Can I ask how their health is? I know at the time the EPA director was saying that the air was clear and clean to breathe. Obviously, that proved to be terribly false.
That's a big part of the film. They are struggling. Mentally, they're struggling. Chris got very, very sick and had to be hospitalized at one point, and he had to have surgery on his throat. They talk about having the Ground Zero cough for months afterwards. And Ralph now just got a recent diagnosis that I'm not at liberty to say what it is, but it could be related to his time on the pile. And so, yes, their health has been affected by what they did. These men were not paid, and now they're paying a price.
Well, Paul, we wish you the very best. We know this film is going to be at the Made in Huntington Film and TV Festival. It's a feature film that's going to be, again, a big part of that film festival. But if you could please relay our thanks to your brother and his friend, the other volunteer, who obviously served their nation proud by running to that pile in those hours after 9/11, and we thank them for their service. And we wish them the best. We know, as you mentioned, that their health is a primary concern right now, and we wish them the very best.
Thank you very much for having me. The film premieres Saturday at 5 in Huntington, New York.
Great. Paul Wagner, director and creator of 5 Days on the Pile. We do thank you for joining us. And again, you can see this powerful documentary this weekend at the Huntington Film Festival on Saturday, April 5th. It's also available to stream on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. Check it out.